Hello everyone and welcome to my channel where I read books and review them for your own very ears. Today we will be diving into The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Deesha Philyaw, which is a collection of short stories that highlight relationships between women with religious themes combined with African American culture. So Deesha Philyaw's website described The Secret Lives of Church Ladies as 4 generations of characters grappling with who they want to be in the world, caught as they are between the church's double standards and their own needs and passions. Secret longings, new love, and forbidden affairs. These church ladies are as seductive as they want to be, as vulnerable as they need to be, as unfaithful and unrepentant as they care to be, and as free as they deserve to be. That shit slapped. Reading the book itself, it's fun to find the hidden little connections between the stories that leave you wanting to close the book and draw out an entire detective map on the wall. I will be focusing on 3 of my favorite stories in the book: Eula, Dear Sister, and How to Make Love to a Physicist. This short story collection is important for everyone to read because it provides a voice for groups of people and topics that have barely been heard. So now we will move on to Eula. Eula books the sweet in Clarksville, 2 towns over. I bring the food. This year, it's sushi for me and cold cuts and potato salad for her. Nothing heavy, just enough to sustain us. And I bring the champagne. This year, which like every year, could be our last, I bring 3 bottles of Andre Spumante. I think I pronounced it right. Why is this so mysterious? As we keep reading, we find out it's New Year's Eve going into the year 2000. Through subtle hints at first, it seems like our narrator is in some type of secret relationship with Eula, a gay relationship with Eula. Happy Pride. Eula seems to be having a bit of a dilemma over this relationship, however.
I start the shower. We like it boiling hot. The heat relaxes me, but I feel like it does something else for Eula.
We're given an image of Eula with her head bowed, almost as if she's in prayer. And sure enough, our narrator wonders, I wonder if she's asking God's forgiveness for stepping outside of his favor as she continues to wait on his provision. Turns out that Eula and our narrator have been best friends since they were 15, when they met in 10th grade honors English class. They planned their children growing up together, they planned their weddings together, but then boom, their 30th birthday held other plans.
She ended up in my lap. I saw the cotton panties between her thick brown thighs. She smelled like vanilla.
And there it is, the gay confirmation. And then we start to realize that Eula is ashamed to be gay because it goes against her religion and the culture that she was raised in. And Eula was very proud to be pure as far as the technical definition of the word goes. As far as I'm concerned, none of this shit that she's doing is very pure, and she had been a good girl, she told me. But we see that Eula is a true believer, while the narrator admits to walking around with
questions lingering in her throat.
When Eula and the narrator are having sex, Eula is silent with regret until the next morning. Eula pretends that nothing is real, so she doesn't have to face it because she's afraid, because she thinks that it's wrong, because she grew up that way. But the question is, will Eula ever get over the shame that is holding her back? Keep reading to find out. And now we will be moving on to our next story, Dear Sister. So our next story is a letter addressed to somebody named Jackie, but we aren't really sure what their relationship. I revealed the magic. Our writer begins by saying,
I've started this letter about 5 different ways. Finally, I just told myself, you're either going to read it or you're not, and it's not going to come down to how I write it.
But we soon find out that our narrator is writing to let Jackie know their shared father, Stet, has passed away. However, our narrator, who we later find is named Nichelle, has never met Jackie, and neither have her 3 sisters, who are all very different from each other. Their grandmother, Stet's mom, is the glue that holds the whole family together through this unique gift that she has of predicting pregnancy. And she thinks that the only time she's ever been wrong was actually when Nichelle, our narrator, had an abortion and hid it because it goes against their culture and their religion to have an abortion. Kimba is the eldest, and she's usually responsible for the rest of the scattered sisters who are all her half-sisters. After Kimba, there's Tashita, whose mom was a stripper, and her personality reflects that confidence. Renee's the youngest, and she's the only one who held out any type of hope for their father. Renee is devoutly religious, while Tashita hunts after married men. And Stet had died like all of his other siblings, where they refer to them as lost to the streets, which is really sad. It is also a comment on what happens to a lot of people of color forgotten by society. There's a strong theme of womanhood that is present throughout the entire story, but we also see a lot of very obvious signs of damage that Stet did to Renee. And we're sure that that happened to all of the sisters, but it's most obvious with Renee because she actually seems the most likely to share her emotions. She's not really scared of defending her dad, even though everyone kind of shames her for it. It leads to a great point, which is, what is the right way to attend this funeral? Is there a right way to attend this funeral? It seems like each point of view is pretty valid. Some would say mine is Renee, but we see this in other parts of the story as well. Like, is it immoral to not tell grandma that Shell had an abortion, that her visions actually are 100% correct? Is it okay to leave her thinking that she's wrong sometimes? Is it anyone else's business who Tashita's sexual partners are, even though they're married? Can sisters find a common ground to stand on it, and can that common ground be the fact that they all love each other? And also, is Jackie pregnant? Because the grandma senses someone. And now we're going to go to my favorite story and our last story, How to Make Love to a Physicist.
How do you make love to a physicist? You do it on Pi Day. Pi is a constant, also irrational, but the groundwork is laid months in advance.
Is our first line of my favorite story in the book, where pi serves as a symbol for the anxiety that comes with the beginnings of relationships. Relatable. So this plunges us into the story of a middle school art teacher at a STEAM conference, there to make sure that the arts aren't forgotten in the wave of STEM. She meets a man there who turns out to be a physicist and chair of the Education Programs Committee for the American Physics Society. But the story engulfs you in a second-person point of view. So you really feel all of these upcoming butterflies with you. After an entire day of talking,
You take a deep breath and spill your dreams.
at around 2 a.m, something interesting happens. She wants to invite him up to her room to continue their amazing conversation, but
You don't want him to think you're that kind of woman, the kind your mother warned you not to be, so you have not been. You are 42.
and for the first time we see a judgmental rule that her mother implanted into her head come up. And even the way that she says this is full of self-deprecation and self-blame. Then we start to see some signs of this trauma manifesting itself as she randomly stops replying to Eric. Some of the self-hatred reveals itself to be rooted in the narrator's mother. No surprise there. So it seems like her mother and exes define her self-esteem instead of what she thinks her future relationships will look like. And religion is also deeply intertwined with the narrator's mother. Her mother, who
Speaks longly of Judgment Day and the final accounting of who's allowed past the pearly gates, certain that God's accounting will mirror hers. It will be a very small number, she's fond of saying. Only those who walk the straight and narrow path shall see the face of God.
And these memories come flashing back when she discusses religion with Eric, even though his religious mindset couldn't be more different from her mother's. When she becomes so close to Eric that she starts having sex dreams about him, she blocks him. Even though they planned for him to fly to her for spring break, and even though he hasn't produced a single flag that isn't green. This is where the story starts to become beautiful for the narrator. She spends time cooking for herself and paints again. She decides not to invite her mother to her upcoming gallery. She learns that her body is her own and that she is beautiful. When she feels whole with herself, she reaches out to Eric again, with no expectations for his reply, considering the way that she ghosts him. But he does. In conclusion, this concludes our review of the amazing work by Deesha Philyaw, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. If you like this review, you should also check out Milk, Blood, Heat, which is also a short story collection debut that dives into the world of young girls, women, and men who are confronted with human connection, race, woman, and inheritance, and the elemental darkness in us all. But honestly, Philia does short stories like no other. I hope all of you are tippy-topping on Amazon as I speak, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.